Sawadee krap everybody from Bangkok Suvarnabhumi International Airport. Today I'm going to be taking a flight on Hong Kong's newest airline, Greater Bay Airlines, from here in Bangkok up to Hong Kong. So without further ado, let's head inside, find check-in and see what Greater Bay Airlines is like. Bangkok Suvarnabhumi International Airport just has one terminal, but there's a lot of concourses. Check-in for Greater Bay Airlines, or GBA for short, was located at Section P today. I didn't see GBA on the self-check-in kiosks, so I just lined up for normal check-in, where there was a relatively small line. I had to write down my name and telephone number on a tag for the checked baggage. It wasn't a particularly quick check-in process. We had to give some information, and also we were given a card with information like carry-on allowance and not eating outside food on board. But the check-in staff were very friendly. Security and immigration here was pretty quick. Airside, from memory, has plenty of places to do some shopping or get something to eat or drink. I quite like Suvarnabhumi Airport. The roof is very cool. It's meant to appear as if it's floating over the concourse, and while being modern, is supposed to reference traditional Thai stacked and layered roof forms. There's a lot of interesting airlines which fly to this airport, so I particularly enjoy plane spotting here.
Thank you for your attention. ท่านผู้โดยสารโปรดทราบสายการบิน Greater Bay Airlines ที่บินที่ HD 282
Speaking of planes, there's my ride to Hong Kong. Bravo Kilo Juliet Foxtrot is a 2015 built Boeing 737-83Z, which was delivered new to Donghai Airlines before being transferred to Greater Bay Airlines in early 2024. Greater Bay Airlines' story goes back to 2010 when Shenzhen-based carrier Donghai Airlines registered a Hong Kong-based company called Donghai Airlines. After years of not much happening with the airline, the Hong Kong-based Donghai Airlines changed its name to Donghai Airlines Hong Kong in 2019, and later in the same year changed it again to Hong Kong Baohinia Airlines, before it was changed again to Greater Bay Airlines in 2020. I assume that the airline's IATA code, HB, comes from Hong Kong Baohinia Airlines, but I don't believe that this has been confirmed. The name Greater Bay Airlines comes from the Greater Bay Initiative. GBA commenced passenger operations in July 2022, with its inaugural flight being from Hong Kong to Bangkok. Earlier this year, GBA was in the aviation news a bit for cancelling 128 flights over a 2-month period, which the airline said was due to scheduling issues, aircraft delivery delays, and regular inspection of existing aircraft. GBA currently has a fleet of 8 Boeing 737-800s and has 15 Boeing 737 MAX 9s on order, which are now expected to arrive in the second quarter of this year after some delays. GBA has also expressed interest in Boeing 787s, though no orders have been announced. By the way, because the flight wasn't officially delayed, I don't think at first, despite the plane being late, I think a fair few people went to the gate earlier than necessary. It took a bit after boarding time, I believe, for there to be a delay announcement, and even still, it was still showing scheduled on the board. They seemed to be doing priority boarding, and then it looked like they'd do it by seat zones.
B282 Bob Hong Kong is now ready for boarding. At this time, would like to invite passengers with special assistance. I invite to board first. For the remaining passengers, please have a seat until it's fine. Thank you for your attention. HP282 Hong Kong. Now would like to invite passengers seat number 50 up to CT8. 60 up to CT8. Please start to the aircraft. Thank you. Thank you. 4จนถึง68ท่านขึ้นเครื่องได้ค่ะ
Hello, how are you?
Hello, welcome on board.
Thank you. Welcome on board one of Greater Bay Airlines Boeing 737-800s, featuring 189, I think, Recaro BL3530 seats in a 3-3 configuration. I believe that this is the maximum amount of seats for a 737-800. My first impressions were it looks like a fresh cabin, which was pretty new and quite clean. My seat for this flight was 62K. There is not 62 rows on the plane, and it is pretty common in Asia for airlines to number their rows like this even on narrow bodies, so that if they swap it to a wide body they don't have to reassign so many seats. But Greater Bay Airlines doesn't have any wide bodies, so I'm not too sure why they've done this, unless it's for the potential 787s. Now let's take a quick look at the seat features. The legroom felt like 29 to 30 inches. I think it's probably 29, but it feels a little bit better because there's nothing in the seat back pocket. So there's the aforementioned seat back pocket, which you can put some personal items in. There's a pretty standard tray table which can be adjusted back and forth, but you can't fold it. And then just up here you'll find a literature compartment. There appears to be 2 coat hooks on each seat. There's the overhead panel. There is no headrest and the seat back is minimal, but this seat isn't too uncomfy.
To Hong Kong. I am the captain today and I have the pleasure to fly with my second in command. The flight time will be 2 hours 35 minutes. We expect some clouds at the moment of arrival in Hong Kong. Thank you very much. Enjoy the flight.
各位乘客敬請留意以下嘅安全示範。Please store all hand carry and large items in the overhead compartments for takeoff and landing.
There was no in-seat power, unfortunately. It's now time for pushback, about 52 minutes late. By the way, the crew confirmed my meal order before pushback.
此外，即使安全帶嘅燈號熄滅，Your life jacket location is shown on the safety instruction card. To use the life jacket, place it over your head. Loop the strap around your waist and fasten the buckle. Then, pull the strap firmly to tighten it. 你嘅安全指示卡上已清楚指明救生衣嘅位置。穿着救生衣嘅時候，先將救生衣套喺頸部，將腰帶圍住腰並扣好，然後鎖緊腰帶。Only inflate your life jacket when leaving the aircraft. To inflate it, simply pull the red toggle stump firmly or blow into the tubes. It also has a whistle and a light. Mr. Captain, brace, brace. Abdominal position shown in the safety instruction card. 緊急情況下，逃生路線嘅照明系統會自動亮起。機艙服務員正為你指示逃生出口。
By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far and you'd like to see more like it, please consider liking and subscribing, as it would help me and the channel out so much, and it would be very much appreciated. But if you don't want to, that's completely okay. It's now time for takeoff on runway 20 left. Now that we're in the air, let's take a look at the Great Enjoyment Cafe and Shop. I gather here I'm pointing out that the 737 MAX 9 is on the cover. I've noticed GBA uses that quite a lot. I feel like now's a good time to briefly explain what type of airline GBA is, I think. So I think Greater Bay Airlines is a low-cost carrier, by the definition that they unbundle things, but it's also been described as a value carrier, and so I feel like it could kind of be considered somewhere in between a low-cost carrier and a hybrid carrier. Because the seat is a pretty standard, decent low-cost carrier seat, and you do have to pay for food on board, but baggage is included with, I think, all non-promotional fares. And also complimentary bottled water is handed out, which I'll show you later. So in the way that checked baggage is often free, and you get a free bottle of water, considering GBA is not normally much more than HK Express, at least from what I've seen. I think when I looked, by the time you added baggage to HK Express, which is Hong Kong's other low-cost carrier by the way, GBA was a fair bit cheaper, so I think value carrier is an appropriate term for it. I think the buy on board menu had a decent selection, and I don't think the prices were too bad considering from my experience often Hong Kong as a city isn't very cheap. Not too long after takeoff we were served our pre-ordered meals and then given complimentary water, which I believe everyone else was also offered. I pre-ordered the Hong Kong style baked pork fillet with egg fried rice, which I enjoyed. I thought it was very good, but I'm certainly no expert on the dish. I appreciate the eco-friendly packaging and stuff, and also the cutlery not being wooden but also more eco-friendly was cool except for the fact that it wasn't too easy to cut the pork. By the way, I thought that my meal was a relatively large portion. The buy on board service followed. I then got a Hong Kong style milk tea, which was in a proper can of sorts, and that was tasty. And it was also relatively cool, which was nice. By the way, the recline seems solid-ish for a low-cost carrier, but nothing crazy. I think the crew then started shopping in duty-free sales or something.
25 minutes for landing and 20 degrees.
An announcement was made about the cabin being sprayed prior to arrival. The spray smelled like lychee to me. As we're already descending into Hong Kong, please allow me to conclude this flight with Greater Bay Airlines. Check-in in Bangkok was fine, not particularly smooth or easy, but not bad either. I think that the thing I was most unimpressed with on this flight was the delay management. I don't think that it was handled well, with it taking a while, unless I missed one, for an announcement to be made, and even still I don't recall much info being given, like a time frame. But maybe I didn't hear it, I don't know. Anyway, once it got underway, boarding was fine, with it being done by rows after priority. It was relatively warm on board this flight, by the way, and the flight was pretty full, I think. I think the seats are solid for a low-cost carrier, although with it being new to GBA, installing some form of power outlets would have been nice, but it is a low-cost carrier, so I'm not sure if this is the same seats that Donghai Airlines used. It was interesting for me to learn about that link. Seat comfort-wise, I had no problem with it for a low-cost carrier on a 2.5-hour flight. The food that I had was pretty tasty, as was the tea. As I said, the food wasn't particularly cheap, but it also wasn't outrageously priced, in my opinion. By the way, because of the food that I got, I had 10 Hong Kong dollars off a drink, so that was nice. I think it's great that they give you a free bottle of water. It's something I do appreciate. I also appreciate the free, I think it was 20 kilos of checked baggage. So I'd consider Greater Bay Airlines either a more premium low-cost carrier, I think probably that one, or a hybrid airline. Their prices seem to be like a low-cost carrier. I'm pretty sure there was no in-flight entertainment other than the magazine, but that's no big deal. The cabin crew on this flight were friendly, so overall I had a good flight with GBA. The delay management was what annoyed me about this flight. I don't know why it was delayed in the first place arriving either, but overall it did the job fine and was good for the price, so I would fly with them again I think for the right price, but just not in too much of a hurry. We'll soon pull into the stand 1 hour and 11 or 12 minutes or so late. But for now, please enjoy the rest of the approach and landing on Hong Kong International Airport's runway 07 left.
is 12 minutes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the temperature is 18 degrees Celsius. For your safety, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened. We would like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we hope to see you on board again soon. Thank you. Goodbye. 各位乘客，歡迎嚟到香港電台當地嘅時間嘅4時48分，而家係攝氏18度。
I'd like to take this time to thank you all so much for watching this video. I'd also like to thank all of my incredible Patreons for helping to make these videos possible. Their support is truly so much appreciated, and I couldn't do what I do without them, so thank you so much to them. Thank you, goodbye. I think this was my first bus gate experience at Hong Kong Airport. Once again, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you on my next trip report next Saturday at 5 PM Melbourne time.